Genie Plus changed again, so you know what that means. Hello, ma'am fam. Yes, I am back in Walt Disney World, and yes, Genie Plus has changed yet again. Now, the rules are the same, but what's changed? The prices. Previously, Genie Plus was all one flat rate that varied based on the crowds, but it didn't matter if you were going to one park, multiple parks, which parks you were going to. Now, the price still varies on the crowds. However, it also depends on which park you're going to. If you're only going to one park per day, it's going to vary based on which park that is. And then there's also a park hopper option, which is more expensive. On the one hand, it's great to pay less at parks like Disney's Animal Kingdom, where there's less attractions that offer Genie Plus. But on the other hand, this just made it more confusing. In this multi-part Genie Plus series, I will be going to each of the 4 parks where I will purchase Genie Plus. I will then attempt to do as many attractions as I can with the service. Along the way, I will be tracking time saved by going through the Lightning Lane. I will be tracking average cost per ride on attractions that I actually recommend using Genie Plus on. We're going to give you a bunch of numbers at the end of this so you can see the breakdown to determine if Genie Plus is worth it for you and your family by each park. And clearly, we're starting today at Disney's Hollywood Studios. On with the show. Here at Disney's Hollywood Studios, there are 14 different attractions that are a part of Genie Plus, and the cost at Hollywood Studios today was $22 per person. Now, of those 14 attractions, several of them are shows, so it's a little harder to figure how much time was saved, but don't worry, we've got ideas to figure it out. And as we head to my first Lightning Lane, we're gonna do a little Genie Plus 101. Disney Genie can be broken down into 3 different services. There's free Disney Genie, which is just the Disney Genie section of the My Disney Experience app, which has customizable tip boards, the dining tip board, predicted wait times, etc. Then you have Genie Plus, which is what this series focuses on. Genie Plus is a fixed price per person per day that allows you skip the line access at over 45 different attractions across Walt Disney World. Again, the difference is now you're either going to be purchasing a per park price, which is going to vary with Animal Kingdom typically being the least expensive, Magic Kingdom typically being the most expensive, or a park hopper option. Once you've purchased Genie Plus, you can reserve return times at the various attractions throughout the parks, which allows you access to the Lightning Lane. The Lightning Lane is just the name for the expedited queue at the attractions, where you'll go scan your card or your Magic Band or whatever's getting you in the park and allows you quicker access to the different attractions. Important things to know about reserving Genie Plus attractions is that it is next available. You're not going to pick what time you want, and you can only access the Lightning Lane at each attraction once per day. The other portion of Disney Genie I call fancy rides. Disney initially called them individual Lightning Lane a la carte selections. I thought that was too many words. But fancy rides are just the fanciest, most in-demand attractions at each park. So you can purchase Lightning Lanes for those, but they are going to be a separate cost, different than Genie Plus. You do not have to purchase Genie Plus to purchase fancy rides, and vice versa. Currently, the fancy ride here at Hollywood Studios is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. I will not be including fancy rides in this series as they are not a part of Genie Plus, but just so you're aware, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance was $22 per person today. So the exact same cost as Genie Plus for the rest of the park for that one attraction. As a friendly bonus reminder, if you'd like to book fancy rides, Walt Disney World Resort guests can start booking them at 7 a.m. Non-resort guests can book them at the time that park opens. You can purchase Genie Plus day of, starting at midnight that day. I recommend having it locked and loaded well before 7 a.m. That way you've got everybody linked up that needs it, you're ready to go. And then right at 7, you're gonna wanna refresh that tip board and book your first attraction. In this park, I highly recommend that first attraction be Slinky Dog Dash, as that is usually the Lightning Lane that runs out for the day the quickest. During the busy times, it'll run out within just a few minutes of 7 a.m. So that's exactly what I did. At 7 a.m. this morning, I booked Slinky Dog Dash, and I got about a 2:30 return time, which means I've already triggered the dreaded 120-minute rule. The 120-minute rule is this. Basically, you can book your second Lightning Lane, either A, after you've used the first one, B, if it expires because you don't use it for some reason, or C, it's been 120 minutes since you booked the first one. Whichever of those times comes first. Basically, Disney knows that there are some attractions that are so popular that they're not going to have next available return times for several hours away, and they don't want you to not be able to use a Lightning Lane for a long time. An additional caveat to this is if you're booking it any time before the park opens, that 120-minute time period doesn't start until the park officially opens. So at 7 a.m. today, I booked my Genie Plus for Slinky Dog Dash for a 2:30 p.m. return time. Park opened at 8:30 a.m. today, which means at 10:30 a.m. today, I was able to book a second Genie Plus Lightning Lane. Luckily, Disney has helped us out with this one. It used to be a lot harder to figure out what time you could book another one. However, now there's a big blue bar at the top of your tip board and it says when you could book your next one. As a pro tip, I recommend setting an alarm clock for a minute or two before that time, so that way, as soon as you're able to book a next attraction. Another of my pro Genie Plus tips is to always have a Lightning Lane. As soon as you're able to book another one, because of the newer modify feature, you can always adjust it later, but to maximize your dollar, you're gonna wanna have one at all times. So at 10:30, as soon as I was able to, I booked Tower of Terror, which may confuse you because I'm clearly in Galaxy's Edge. I know this is a lot of information before we even get to our first attraction, but basically on the My Disney Genie day, I went to my Tower of Terror. Fiddle faddle is just a term I use to refresh the screen until something that you like better shows up. So again, I locked in Tower of Terror, made sure I had one, and then I fiddle faddled until one of my other top attractions showed up at an earlier time. Don't get me wrong, about 2 hours away for Tower of Terror is a pretty good Lightning Lane. And there's plenty to do in this park that you don't need to use a Lightning Lane. There's a lot of filler attractions and shows and things like that. But in a challenge where I'm trying to get as much done as possible, I wanted to bump up my next one. So here we are at Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. Second Lightning Lane I booked today, but the first one we're gonna do, let's get to it. Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run puts you inside the cockpit of the fastest Hug-a-Juck in the galaxy, the ship that could make the Kessel run in 12 parsecs. It's incredibly, incredibly popular, as stated by our 115-minute wait right now. Gotta send that to my mathematician for the data. I'm gonna clock how long I stand in the queue as well, and we're gonna get to it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna compare how long I wait in the queues to the 115-minute posted wait outside. For the sake of this experiment, we're gonna assume Disney is not lying with the wait time. Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run has a 44.0-inch height requirement, and you are gonna be put into one of three positions: pilot, gunner, or engineer aboard the Millennium Falcon. Honestly, the coolest part of this attraction, in my opinion, is stepping aboard the ship. It looks just like it did in the movies. And for Star Wars fans, I think that's a pretty big deal. All right, we have made it into Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. The Lightning Lane queue is a little backed up compared to what I've seen it before, but still I think gonna be exceptionally shorter compared to the 115-minute posted wait. Now, because I tapped in, I was able to book another one. So I went ahead and just booked, for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along, because there's one starting soon, and I do need to be conscious of the shows and how much time they're gonna take today. But I'm also gonna see if I can fiddle faddle for something closer for some of these other big ticket attractions that I need to do, like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Rock and Roller Coaster, which is already out of Lightning Lanes for the day, and Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. So again, to fiddle faddle, you just refresh it like this, you just pull it down, and new times will pop up. Headed into the pre-show now, and we are at 10 minutes and 44 seconds. We're gonna round that up to 11, because the pre-show is where the clock stops. And we're gonna add that data into our very scientific Excel spreadsheet. And it looks like Hondo's not working. That's odd, but that's fine. We're gonna pilot or gun or engineer the ship.
Right pilot, make the jump to light speed.
Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run, check. And now in fiddle faddling, while waiting to board, there were lots of great options that if I was just a normal guest having a nice day, I would have booked. You had a couple Tower of Terror, even Rock and Roller Coaster, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, all pop up within the next couple of hours. I did get got by the Genie a couple times with Rock and Roller Coaster, which is what I call it. When you see a desired time that you want, in this case it was a 12:15, and then by the time you click it, it changes because someone else was faster to it. But ultimately, I decided to go with none of those because this is a game of numbers. This is just a fun experiment to put this system to the test and share some tips and tricks along the way. And I need to rack up some more numbers. I don't have 2 hours to wait for Mickey and Minnie's or Rock and Roller Coaster or anything right now. So I booked the nearest Muppet Vision 3D, And as soon as I tap in, I'm gonna book one of the shows since I know those are gonna be big time sucks. Depending how fast I can tap in, it's either gonna be Beauty and the Beast or Indiana Jones. Now, I love Muppet Vision 3D because I love the Muppets. I think they are hilarious. Real talk, I watched the show literally yesterday for a different video and I couldn't be more excited to watch it again. But it only is a 10-minute posted wait, and I'm gonna see if I save any time going in the lightning lane or if they just route us into the same place anyway. Hello. All right, perfect. All right, I'm marking this as no time saved because that's where standby would have come in. Clearly, you do not need to use the lightning lane here, but we need to book Beauty and the Beast quick, because it will go away after 12:30. So the thing to keep in mind with the shows that's much different than the rides, and I'm talking the live theater shows, not 3D shows like Muppet Vision 3D, is that they're not continuously loading, so there's very set lightning lane return times. So for example, Beauty and the Beast is only gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of return times all day. And once that window has started, that lightning lane closes, as opposed to a ride, which has return times every 5 minutes. So the return time would have been, I think, 12:30 to 12:50 for the 1 p.m. show. I clearly missed that by a few minutes, but that's okay because I'm gonna get Indiana Jones, which is a 12:45 return time. 12:45 to 1 p.m. to see the 1 o'clock show, which is great because by the time I'm done with Muppets, I can head over that way. I even might have time to grab a coffee on the way. Now, more importantly, let's talk about Muppet Vision 3D. This is a 3D show. Again, it's a classic. I love it so much. Hasn't changed in years, but that's part of its charm. Clearly, you do not need to use the lightning lane here, considering it was the same weight, regardless if you tapped in or not. But this is a great filler ride because it's sitting down in the air conditioning with the Muppets, full family attraction. Really great one to do in between some of these other heavy hitters.
I meant to say it's a huge show-stopping major song from Miss Piggy. That's more like it. Good. And we've also got a big musical finale from Sam Eagle. Sam, what's it about?
If you'll come this way, I can show you our secret laboratory. You see, we invited distinguished scientists from all over the world to come and work here. Unfortunately, none of them showed up. So instead, I'd like to introduce you to the guys who invented Muppet Vision, and they...
Waka! He's trying to drown us! What kind of act is that?
Little hiccup in the plan, and that's that this plan is taking place in Florida. It's already gotten a lot better, but when I got out of Muppet Vision 3D, it was monsooning. You can probably hear the thunder. I changed my Indiana Jones because I do not think that show's gonna happen in Thunder and Lightning for safety of the performers, to Frozen, for the first time forever, a Frozen Sing-Along Spectacular, because that's an indoor show. And I was able to change Indiana Jones for Frozen by canceling Indiana Jones and then rebooking Frozen. The reason I had to cancel it and not modify it is I'm technically outside my window for Indiana Jones because I was hiding from the very heavy rain. So make sure you go in and cancel it, otherwise I wouldn't be able to book Indiana Jones again. And then I just booked Frozen, and now we are going to brave the weather for Frozen. Made it through the rain into the load area for Frozen, a sing-along celebration. Now this is another show that I really enjoy. It's normally a great filler attraction. However, you do not need to typically use a lightning lane here. I'm gonna chalk this up as a 10-minute save. The lightning lane that I booked was between 1:05 and 1:20. It gave me a 15-minute window to guarantee a seat at the 1:30 show. If I had shown up later than that, I would no longer be able to use my lightning lane and I'd have to go through standby. This is another big way that attractions vary from theater shows, because typically with the attractions, if you're 10 or so minutes late and nice to the cast members, you could still use the lightning lane. That is not the case with theater shows because the shows have to start on time. So that 15 minutes or whatever length they give you to come in for the theater shows, that is very, very strict. So then I asked a cast member, how early would you recommend a guest get here if they do not have lightning lane? And he said on a day like today, which is pretty typical crowds for the summer, 20 minutes early. So I had to be here 10 minutes early with my lightning lane, which means I saved a total of 10 minutes. Again, this show is great. It's fantastic to hide from the rain or the heat, get a laugh. It's very underrated in my opinion, but I don't think you need to use a lightning lane here. I really enjoyed the show. I think it's a lot of fun. You're gonna have two storytellers tell the story of Frozen with sing-along clips from the movies, and yes, you are encouraged to sing. And of course, there's some appearances by some royal favorites. Cast members have asked to fill in all the empty seats. I'm gonna go around the side and do just that. And as soon as I tapped in at Frozen, I went ahead and booked another attraction, and that attraction was Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Now, there wasn't a time until 3:55 to 4:55, so now that I have a few minutes, I'm gonna fiddle-faddle and try and get something closer. Ideally, I would stick around this area. I don't wanna go all the way down Sunset and zigzag back and forth across the park if I can help it. That's one thing people ask about a lot. But you never know. Plus, I want to keep with indoor attractions right now while the weather is being the weather. Taking a look here for context, it's a Friday, the week of 4th of July. Rock and Roller Coaster says they're out. Tower of Terror is at 4:40. Alien Swirling Saucers is at 2. All the shows still have some for whatever the next available show is. Meeting Olaf is at 1:20. I might book that because he's right next door, so that'd be a good one to knock out quick. Slinky Dog is closed, of course, for weather, but that one is also out of Lightning Lanes. Toy Story Mania is at 2:45. So it's not super duper crowded, but we're gonna see what we can figure out. I'm gonna fiddle-faddle for a few minutes. See, look, it already bumped up to 250. Still not close enough though. I'm gonna see if I can get anything closer with Mickey and Minnie's. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna book Olaf just so I can cross another one off the list. That's right here.
Signed, I will be celebrating the Aerodel Festival.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Oh, what? It propelled Elsa toward her destiny. Yeah. And hours going forward to the best day ever.
Friday.
Hooray!
Carnations are my favorite flowers. Get out of there, Tumbleweed. I do not like this guy, and it looks like this horse has got a skunk on his head.
I'm so jealous because my man is dreamy.
And then ready.
I'm gonna say that one more time because that guy is dreamy! Oh, no!
This one is for you, Dad.
Let it go, let it go.
That's not necessary, thanks, though.
Yes, it is.
Only an act of true love can thaw a frozen heart.
I love you. Oh, excuse me, Queen Elsa, for
Come on, let's go find Spin.
Thank you all for coming out and singing along with us.
Queen Elsa.
Clearly, it rained just long enough to ruin any semblance of hair anyone had done and make it more humid. But Frozen done, check. I really do love that show. It is so funny. The narrators change what they say every time, so you never know. And I'm not kidding. Every adult in there was cracking up. I love that show. So underrated. Great use of some filler time and a great way to get out of the rain. Now, initially, again, I booked Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, but then I realized I should keep knocking out some of this entertainment stuff that closes before the rest of the park does. So I booked Meeting Olaf, since that's right next door. And then I realized there was actually a Disney Junior dance party I could go to the moment that I got out of the show. So from Frozen to Disney Junior, which really hitting the highlights here. Disney Junior Dance Party only has a 5-minute return window, which is quite short. I think that says a lot about how popular this show is, but you do have some of the Disney Junior characters out here for meet and greets, not included, but you've got Fancy Nancy right there, Vampirina, looks like Pluto. And the Disney Junior Dance Party is a short, like 10-15 minute show with a bunch of characters from Disney Junior shows. So there's very clearly a target audience here. This is not one most people are gonna see, and it's certainly not one you need to use a lightning lane on. I think this is gonna be the same as Muppets, where it's literally a 0-minute time saved. But you know what, we're going for them all today, and that includes this one. Nothing weird and creepy about bringing a camera into a show as a single adult, right? I'm not gonna film a lot of this. Well, I'll film the show and myself, but you get it. And clearly I saved 0 time. I walked in, I merged in with the standby line, and now I'm gonna go ahead and book something next. I also wanted to point out that I moved and modified my Slinky Dog Dash till later. I realized it was right smack dab in the middle of the afternoon, and Slinky Dog Dash, pending the weather, will stay open until the park closes at 9. But for now, I'm gonna book my next one, which I might try and squeeze in Olaf before Indiana Jones, otherwise it's Indy next. All right, let's see. Where's Olaf? All right, we're gonna meet Olaf, 2:30. I'm gonna see if I can get it a little earlier, because this show will probably be over at like 2:20. No, that should work out. So my new plan is to watch this show, go to meet Olaf, and as soon as I tap in at Olaf, book Indiana Jones. Couple parents are like, why is this adult woman here alone with a video camera? But you know what? It's a much abridged version of what the show originally debuted as. It's just like 10 minutes long. It's a DJ, and he introduces Vampirina, Doc Mc, energy. But no, you don't need to use Lightning Lane there. You can walk in for the mini shows throughout the day. Interestingly enough, while there are tons of great characters to meet at this park, you can meet Mickey and Minnie characters, Incredibles characters, but Olaf is the only guy with a Lightning Lane, and right now it only has a 5-minute wait, so Olaf can be worth it if you really want to meet Olaf. It's not quite in the worth it category, but just keep it in mind, especially if you've got someone who really wants to meet Olaf.
Okay, everybody, big smiles. Very good now.
Gonna count in the worth it for this video, but I do think if you've got someone that wants to meet Olaf and you're already purchasing Genie Plus, might as well, as long as you've got everything else taken care of. The return window is 2:45 to 3. Eyeline, baby. So let's get ourselves a, and after I see Indy, I've got a little bit more flexibility with what I want to book, because the only show left to worry about is Beauty and the Beast. And there's not one of those until 5, I believe. So I think I could get maybe one more thing in before Beauty and the Beast, but we'll see. Just a small coffee acquired, and now headed into Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. Crossed out.
Terribly valuable artifact down here.
The guy talks to you down there, but for a long time it wasn't working, so I love that. He said, be a jolly good sport, get off the rope. Iconic stunts from the Indiana Jones series are brought to life. I love this show. It's like the last remnants of original MGM studios, one of the oldest things in the park. And I actually think this one's a pretty good use of a Lightning Lane. But like I did with Frozen, I'm going to ask a cast member how early you should show up to get a spot for standby and use that as our wait time analysis. Yeah. Very kind cast member Nicole told me that she would advise a guest who doesn't have Lightning Lane to arrive at least half an hour before Jones, a 15 minutes saved. However, I do think this is probably the best show on our list today to use the Lightning Lane on, so I'm going to say it's worth it. I do love the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. I remember watching it as a kid, and again, it's one of the only things remaining, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway left. Now, Star Tours is attraction. It's a 3D simulator with the Star Wars characters. You never know where you're going to go. There's over 50 different combinations of adventure you could go on, which does give it a lot of rewritability if it doesn't make you sick.
Hello. Please refrain from waiting. This disrupts the circuitry.
Got my stopwatch going. I was paused for like 15 seconds, but we'll see how long it takes to get into the load area. As I head to the load area, I'm looking at the Lightning Lane choices. Gonna be cutting it close, but if I could get Tower or Coaster right before that and tap in, I think I could make it. But Rock and Roller Coaster has been cranky all day, and it just came back up.
Have you seen them? No one on this transport could possibly be out.
I am Mars Kanata, and I come to you with an urgent message. The shadow of the dark side is spreading across. Need your help.
It's just beginning.
Star Tours complete. That ride makes me so nauseous. Now we are walking swiftly, never running because that's unsafe, to Sunset Boulevard because I was able to book Tower of Terror and then tap in and then book Beauty. At this point, the biggest problem I have is one, the weather, because it just thundered again, so that means Slinky could go down. And two, Rock and Roller Coaster. And because it was down for so long, there's no more lightning lanes. So hopefully those come back. But for now, let's just work on getting ourselves quickly to the Twilight Zone. Leisurely walk into Beauty and the Beast. They're not trying to race the clock to make sure they get the Beauty and the Beast lightning lane. Again, this is just a fun way to put the system to the test, show you what it can do. But I will say, there's been lots of good lightning lanes available throughout the day, many of them at the e-ticket attractions, and normally it's for your e-tickets. By the e-tickets, I mean Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, Smugglers Run, Slinky Dog, make you go see all these shows that we're doing. That's when you eat. That's when you enjoy luxuriation. Twilight Zone Tower of Terror has a 44.0-inch height requirement. It is a fan favorite attraction, incredibly popular. It's both over 199 feet tall. This is one of the best themed attractions of all time, in my opinion. The queue is actually my favorite part just because it's so detailed and really throws you into the theme. I'm Top Club, which is the club at the top of the Tower of Terror that the family's going to, which is pretty low for this attraction. Honestly, thank you. Do y'all have a second touch point? Okay, thank you. All right, so we made it into the queue with plenty of time, but let's hope it's not backed up. Starting the stopwatch right now to see minute posted wait. There is a second touch point here. Most attractions have a second touch point, but I have found recently most attractions do not keep them on, but it's to prevent people from greatest fears. Oh, the air conditioning feels so good on this very humid and muggy day. This lobby has so many videos about all the details. One specifically here in Hollywood Studios you should check out. Oh, this park. There's tons of nods to different episodes of The Twilight Zone. Just stunning in here. And there we go at the second tap. So let's go ahead and walk in Beauty and the Beast.
Hold up, I recommend picking any bags you have, but just holding on tightly so you don't lose them.
I remember how scary it was. I was so scared.
Great saver of time, definitely worth it. And now I'm picking up a quick mobile order at Fairfax Fair. They redid their menu within the last few months. I've not had anything, and it is a hot, muggy day, and I want to eat hot meat and potatoes, obviously. And it's 5,000 degrees outside and so humid because of the weather. This is definitely the top choice. But honestly, I really wanted to try these bowls. They also have a buffalo chicken one. They also have a Korean pork belly one, and they've got some vegan options as well, some soba noodle bowls. Why not try it? Plus, it's right here at Fairfax Fair across from the theater we're going to in just a few minutes. Hot bowl of meat and a waffle cone. I got so many questions. Mostly I have potatoes this first bite. All right, well, they're delicious. I love mashed potatoes, and those are good mashed potatoes. Oh my God, they're so creamy. A little bacon in there, super buttery. I like when you get the cheese too. Yeah, I don't want this to be as good as it is, but it actually has a little bit of heat because of the pickled jalapenos. I think the queso has a little bit of heat too. I love the crunch from the corn chips. The meat is really tender, a little bit of sweet tanginess from the barbecue sauce. The only thing is the bowl is kind of falling apart. The structural integrity of the bowl is not the best, but I do want to try the bowl because I'm confused about a waffle cone with potatoes. It works. It again adds crunch like the corn chips, but it adds a little bit of sweetness, which I'm not mad at. It's like salty because of the bacon, sweet and tangy because of the barbecue sauce, and the waffle cone, a little sweetness, crunchy from the chips, a little bit of heat from the jalapenos. This is good. Wow, I cannot believe how much I enjoyed that beef bowl. That's like one of the best things I've had in a theme park in a while. I'm very impressed with that. I can't wait to try the other ones, but those are a good meal. They're not huge, but because of all the potato and the meat, they're definitely filling. You could also share that amongst a couple people for a really good snack. I mean, ideally it wouldn't be 100 degrees and have just rained, but you know what? My sweat stash and I really enjoyed that waffle bowl full of potatoes and meat. Tapped in here at Beauty and the Beast live on stage. And I tapped in this one. You can arrive 10 minutes before showtime. Cast member said that she would tell someone to be here 30 minutes before showtime. So we're gonna chalk Beauty and the Beast up to saving 20 minutes in the data. I think Beauty and the Beast is probably the second show that you should use with Genie Plus. Again, I think Indiana Jones is number one. That show tends to fill up, like our theater was full to capacity. This one doesn't fill up quite as much. So unless you want to guarantee that you have a seat, you don't necessarily need to prioritize this one with Genie Plus. Beauty and the Beast Live on Stage, as the name would suggest, is a live stage production of Beauty and the Beast. It's about 30 minutes long. Nice abridgment, features all the musical numbers that you enjoy. Fun fact, it debuted here in this theater the same day Beauty and the Beast debuted in theaters in 1991. And I just feel like that's a bold call to make a whole show about a movie that hadn't even come out yet. But you know what? We all know Beauty and the Beast was a banger, and the musical's still here in Hollywood studios. I'm gonna pick myself a seat. I think I'm gonna get up a little closer to the action. And then I'm gonna start fiddle-fouling for another lightning lane. At this point, we've got Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Rock and Roller Coaster, which is down again, and everything in Toy Story Land. All right, it is 4:50, 7:20 at Mickey and Minnie's, nothing at Rock and Roller Coaster. You know what, we're gonna uncheck Tower. Here's another one of my pro tips. When you begin your Genie Plus day, make sure you set up your day. It's right there on the My Genie Day. Click Get Started, and then it'll allow you to pick which park you're in and what your top attractions are. That will pin those attractions to the top of your list. And then throughout the day, I uncheck things and recheck things. So I'm unchecking Tower of Terror since I've already done that. I'm rechecking Toy Story Mania. That way those things are at the top of my list and I'm not having to scroll all the way down to look at Toy Story Mania. Now my Slinky Dog Dash is until 7:50 now. So in an ideal world, I would ride all of those close to around the same time. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and book Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and then go to the modify screen and fiddle-faddle a little bit to see if I can get a Rock and Roller Coaster to show up, which I doubt as long as it's closed, or a closer Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So here's how we do that. You click these three dots right here, modify plan, and that's what brings you to this screen where, again, my top ones are still pinned. Rock and Roller Coaster and Toy Story are still pinned, and then you just refresh. And you can see Toy Story Mania went down to 5 o'clock. That's pretty good. But again, I'm aiming for Mickey and Minnie's just because I'm trying not to, 5 o'clock Mickey and Minnie's. Can we get it? Can we get it? Can we get it? Come on, come on, come on. Yes. Boom. We'll head there after this. Try not to zigzag too much in the park, and so if I can save all of Toy Story Land for the end of the day, that would be great.
Bonjour!
Bonjour, Gaston.
How about Belle? Marry me.
Gaston, may I have my book back, please?
It isn't right for a woman to read.
Through a series of strange circumstances, she found herself held captive.
Mayor. Humiliated. Time to follow me. I'm lost. You could have so much.
No, this is all my fault.
It's me.
Another one for the big Beauty and the Beast.
Things I inexplicably love about Beauty and the Beast Live on Stage. 1, the Sunday that comes out during the VR guest number. Incredible. 2, the off to the side drama between a wife and her husband during the mob song where she doesn't want him to join the mob, but eventually he caves to the mob and he joins and she's very disappointed. 3, the hot pink dresses in the final numbers. I've wanted to wear those forever, ever since I was a little kid. And 4, the fact that as you're leaving, they played the Celine Dion version of Beauty and the Beast. Those are enough reasons to see it, in my opinion, but I truly do love it. And even though it's delightfully cheesy, I cry every time. Like I've never seen the show or the movie. Now I've got good news and bad news. The good news is Rock and Roller Coaster has come back up. It has a 50-minute wait right now, which isn't actually too bad for that ride. But I haven't seen any lightning lanes return, so I think that's gonna be the bane of my existence today. We're gonna head though and ride Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which I can ride right now, and then see if Steven Tyler feels like hanging out. Otherwise, we'll start checking out Toy Story stuff. Made it to the Chinese theater for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which has a current 95, yikes, minute wait. But We are gonna time it with a lightning lane to the pre-show yet again. I love this attraction. The more I ride it, the more I like it. There are so many cute details and hidden Mickeys to look for. It is absolutely adorable. It's such a fun family ride. It's got that trackless technology. I can't hype it up enough. I think it's so, so cute. I honestly think this is probably one of my top 10 favorite attractions at Walt Disney World. It has worked its way into my heart and continues to climb. I just think it's so lovely. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. All right, starting the clock to see how much we saved compared to the posted 95 minutes. This is a very popular ride. It usually has that long of a line. Sometimes it'll go down towards the end of the night when people are going to see Fantasmic, but for the most part, this one is very popular, AKA a very good use of a lightning lane.
Do you mind helping these good people into the cartoon while I fix this here locomotive? Welcome aboard, folks. Hey, listen, man. Worst, bear with me. What could possibly go wrong?
Just let him get away! Wait for me! There they are! We'll be right back!
Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway complete. After tapping in, I went ahead and booked Toy Story Mania. I've got about 15 or so minutes till I can ride that, so walking over towards Toy Story Land. I did fiddle faddle while waiting to join the pre-show to see if any rock and roller coaster times would come up. So far they have not, so Steven Tyler's stressing me out a little bit. But let's head to Toy Story Land. After I go on Toy Story Mania, I'm gonna book Alien Swirling Saucers, and then we'll figure it out from there. Also, it took less than 7 minutes to get to the pre-show, and again, posted 95-minute wait at Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, so very, very worth the lightning lane there. Yeehaw, friends, and welcome to Andy's Backyard, where we are headed into Toy Story Mania. Toy Story Mania is the original Toy Story ride in this park, and it's the 3D shooter game with Woody, Buzz, and the whole gang. I love this attraction. You can ride it over and over again, always trying to better your score. That's one of my favorite things about it. And of course, it stars Buzz Lightyear, my favorite Disney character. Currently, the posted wait time is 75 minutes, 7.5, so definitely feels like a good lightning lane use. It's time for rootin', tootin', shootin'. Hello. Thank you. All right, started our clock to see how long the lightning lane takes compared to the 75-minute standby line. And in the meantime, I'm gonna book Alien Swirling Saucers and then fiddle faddle to either get a closer time for that or what we really want, rock and roller coaster. Toy Story Mania crushed, complete. I booked Alien Swirling Saucers and then fiddle faddled to get one right now. So I am headed there. And then it's all about Steven Tyler. Because remember, we already have Slinky Dog books for a little bit, so It's starting to spit again. Hopefully the rain doesn't impact that. But Rock and Roller Coaster, the good news, the wait time's dropped 30 minutes, so maybe that means more spots will open up. We'll find out. Alien Swirling Saucers is definitely more of a filler attraction here in Toy Story Land. It's got a 32.32-inch height requirement, and it's the same ride system as the Tow Mater's Junkyard Jamboree in Disney California Adventure, where you're gonna kind of be whipped around on the back of a Pizza Planet car with an alien. Alien Swirling Saucers, despite not being an e-ticket attraction, the wait time can get up there. For example, right now it's 45 minutes. Earlier today it was 25 minutes, so similar to some of the shows we've seen, it can be a good use of a lightning lane, but it's definitely not something you need to prioritize. Thank you, thank you. All right, now that we've scanned in, I will continue to log how long this is taking, but we are going to viciously refresh the page on the tip board now for Rock and Roller Coaster. Alien Swirling Saucers done, 5 minutes versus 45. We've saved a lot of time so far, and we've got an hour before my Slinky Dog Dash lightning lane, and it's still spitting a little bit, so I'm gonna find somewhere covered, perhaps with a cocktail, to sit and refresh my screen for Rock and Roller Coaster. And I should highlight that Rock and Roller Coaster has dropped to a 45-minute wait, which is really not that bad for that attraction. It also is a single rider line, which means I could probably be on it within 15 minutes anyway. So this is ludicrous and not what you should do. You should go through the single rider line, or you should have booked one earlier when I had them a couple hours out and then use standby for all the shows I did earlier. But as I've said, that's not the point of this. So we are gonna continue on and hope the rain doesn't get worse either so I can't use Slinky. Well, I have good news and I have bad news. I spent a little time at the Tune-In Lounge, which is the bar portion of 50's Primetime Cafe, an excellent place to grab a drink. And I spent like an hour refreshing my screen to try and get a lightning lane for Rock and Roller Coaster, to no avail, which I'm very bummed about, but also not entirely surprised about, because I have not seen one pop up for Rock and Roller Coaster for like 6 or 7 hours. Now, Rock and Roller Coaster was down for a good majority of the day while I was here, so my assumption is they didn't offer any more lightning lanes for the attraction once it came up in case it went down again, because they were already trying to compensate for everybody showing up for the attraction, as well as everyone with a lightning lane for that time, and everyone that had a lightning lane for the times while it was down, and they just didn't want to overpromise more than they could deliver in case it went down again. So yes, I'm definitely bummed I couldn't get a lightning lane for Rock and Roller Coaster, because that means I got all but one of them today, and my competitive spirit has taken a hit for sure. However, like I said, this is just a fun way to explain the system and challenge the system and do something fun with it. In reality, I should have booked Rock and Roller Coaster many hours ago when it was like a couple hours away from when I was booking it, and then spent those couple hours riding other attractions, eating snacks, etc. That's what I would advise you to do. But the good news, friends, the rain has stopped. It was pouring while I was at the Tune-In Lounge, and it is dusk, and we are headed to ride Slinky Dog Dash. Made it into Toy Story Land. Can you believe that the very first attraction I booked this morning at 7 a.m. was Slinky Dog Dash, and now it's finally time. Slinky Dog Dash is incredibly popular, and for that reason, I absolutely recommend it as your #1 top tier pick when you're booking at 7 a.m. here at Hollywood Studios. If you want to ride it, you need to book that first at 7 a.m. Then your tier 2 is Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, Millennium, Falcons, Smugglers Run, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Your tier 3 are things like Toy Story Mania, some of the shows like Indiana Jones, Beauty and the Beast. But I think as long as you focus on getting those tier 1, 2, and a couple of the tier 3 attractions done, you have used your Genie Plus wisely. Like I said, don't do what I did today, which is waste your Genie Plus on things like the Disney Junior Dance Party or Star Tours, which have barely a wait as it is. Book the big attractions that are a few hours out at a time. Do those filler attractions and shows in between. and you will maximize your Genie Plus and your dollar. Another thing I want to point out is that Genie Plus works the same for up to 10 guests. Sometimes people watch our videos and say, oh, you can only do this because you're one person or two people. Nope, I've experimented with bigger groups and I've talked to folks at Disney. The app says 12, but I'm telling you it's up to 10 people work the same way. Again, today's not an example of how you should use Genie Plus. It's just a fun way to showcase Genie Plus. And hopefully you can take these tips and tricks and be successful with Genie Plus with your group. Again, up to 10 people should be able to use all these tips and tricks to maximize the system. And lastly, considering we're doing the Slinky Dog last, even though it was booked first, a great time to mention the idea of stacking, which is a term meaning that you are going to maximize that 120-minute rule I talked about much earlier in the video. And if you're only coming in for a half day, if you're hopping from a park that doesn't have as many popular attractions like Animal Kingdom, if you're doing a pool day beforehand, you can successfully stack a bunch of attractions so that by the time you get into the park, you've got a lot of things ready to go. Just booking something every time you can with that 120-minute rule. We've done a bunch of videos on that. And while a few things may have changed here and there with the with Genie Plus, definitely check those out there. The afternoon series that I did in each park if you want to maximize stacking, because maybe you're like me and not an early person. Slinky Dog Dash has a 38.38-inch height requirement. It's super duper cute. I always joke that it has more bark than it looks like, just because it looks like it's more of a barnstormer style attraction. And it's definitely not a super intense coaster, but it's still super fun. And I think it's a little more intense than it looks. I giggle every time. Granted, I don't have much of a voice right now, so maybe not so much tonight, but it is such a cute attraction. I highly recommend it, especially at night. I think this whole land, including the attraction, are even cuter at night, which is definitely why I'm not upset that we pushed this lightning lane out. Slinky Dog Dash is such a fun attraction, such a cute attraction. I was sitting next to the sweet mom who was letting her two boys ride alone up in front, and they were just having a blast, and the little girl behind me was having a blast, and it's just like, I love that attraction. I think it's so fun. I think it's so cute. I love it more at night. So a great way to end our lightning lane experience, and definitely a good save on the lightning lane because it only took me about 5 minutes to get through the queue, and it was a 100-minute wait. So that is a wrap on our day here at Disney's Hollywood Studios. In total, again, I spent $22 on Genie Plus and I was able to do 13 different attractions. It comes to $1.69 an attraction. And looking at the 6 that I think were the most worth it today, Millennium, Falcons, Smugglers Run, Slinky Dog Dash, Toy Story Mania, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Tower of Terror, and throwing in one of the shows, Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, it was $367 an attraction. Counting every single attraction, I saved over 8 hours in line, and counting just those 6 attractions, I saved 6.66 hours in line. So there you have it. Only you can decide if Genie Plus is worth the purchase for you and your family. And I know I'm just one person, so when you add in a whole family, the cost grows exponentially. But hopefully this breakdown was helpful to show you what you can realistically do in a day, what attractions are worth using your Genie Plus on, how much time you can realistically save, how much per attraction it'll cost you if you purchase Genie Plus. We're gonna do this at all the other parks. Let me know which one you're most excited about down in the comments. Let me know what other Genie Plus questions I can help you with. I know Genie Plus is a very confusing part of planning a Disney World vacation right now, but if used correctly, and save you a lot of time and be a huge benefit on your vacation. So again, let me know what questions you have. Jump into Discord. Make sure to follow us on social media. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe. And until next time, friends, I'm Molly, and it has been so magical. Good night. See you next week. Well, you'll see me before that for other videos, but I mean, see you next week for this series again.